Most countries seeing a low death toll and number of cases took an aggressive stance early on. Germany, New Zealand, Iceland, all praised for their quick action and strong response to coronavirus, actions that were based on the data that appeared to have saved many lives and helped slow the spread. So what do these countries have in common? Well, as CNN's Max Foster reports, they're all run by women.
As the virus spread beyond China, countries and territories run by women appear to have had particularly effective strategies. Taiwan's Tsai Ing-wen was one of the first leaders to recognize the threat to her island. Her aggressive early response included restricting flights from mainland China and ramping up production of personal protective equipment such as masks. To date, Taiwan has reported only 6 fatalities linked to the virus amongst its population of 24 million.
New Zealand's efforts have been huge.
Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand was even more aggressive as she enforced a national lockdown before any deaths were even reported. And she banned tourists, which are the country's biggest source of income.
From 11:59 p.m. tonight, we will close our border to any non-residents and citizens attempting to travel here.
When the virus hit Europe, female leaders were similarly proactive. In Iceland, Katrín Jakobsdóttir offered free testing to all citizens, whether they were showing symptoms or not. And she used a tracking system, so she didn't have to lock down and suffocate the economy. Compare that to Sweden, which has by far the highest death rate in the Nordics, and is also the only country there that isn't led by a woman. Smaller nations are perhaps easier to manage, but that doesn't explain Angela Merkel's success in Germany, a nation of 83 million. This chart compares Germany's noticeably low death rate with other comparable European states and the US. So what explains the apparent link between low virus mortality rates and female leadership?
Each of the leaders you mentioned brings a combination of compassion and rigor, I think, to the way that they've engaged the public, fact-based, evidence-based, science-based early, but also really showing empathy and showing and speaking to the humanity of what's at stake here in the crisis.
Managing a crisis requires recognizing it early on and acting decisively. The international evidence so far shows a disproportionate number of female leaders successfully taking that approach to the current pandemic. It is that empathetic style of leadership which women are more closely associated with that probably needs to be studied more closely here, Brianna, because it's that ability to get people on side, to buy into the messaging, something that Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand has been praised for example, and interesting to see as well that she's just taken a 20% pay cut along with the rest of her cabinet to show that they're not isolated from the economic harm being done to New Zealand right now.